All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you guys so much for coming. My name's Taylor with Scott Leroy Marketing. Today we're going over direct mailers. So we're going to go through how to create a direct mail campaign and send it out. We should have time to go over two different examples, one as a targeted location and one targeting your database. Feel free as we go to throw any questions you have in the chat. I'm going to do my best to watch for those and answer as we go. I'm also going to put our support email in the chat for you. That way, if you have a question that is more specific to your circumstances, maybe your system is acting a little funny or you're not getting it the way you want, our support team can help go through yours specifically if you email them. You can also watch any of the recordings once it's processed to our YouTube channel. We try to upload those by the end of the day when they're recorded. Just depends on processing time. Or you can catch our last class that should already be uploaded. So the first thing we're going to do is get logged into Command. So going to agent.kw.com. And the first thing that I recommend doing is making sure that your marketing profile is as accurate as it can be. There are certain spots in the campaign that are going to pull from your marketing profile. And so if you go to the upper right-hand corner where your name is, if you're following along, and under settings, this is going to take you to your main integrations page. Under connect settings is where we're going to find marketing profile. And then we're just going to make sure that all of our information is as up to date as possible. So we have our headshot. If you're on a team or you have your own branded logo, you can upload that here. We've also seen agents do a generic KW logo or maybe the realtor logo, just depends. And then filling out your information, license number, contact information. Then we have brokerage information. So this is your market center specific logo. And then the brokerage name, phone number, address, and license number. Then your compliance piece. This is typically going to have the ownership statement. So each office is independently owned and operated. And then depending on which state you're located in, you may have more items that need to be placed here. If you have questions about what should go here, we recommend reaching out to the broker in charge at your office or compliance coordinator. They'll have more information on what should be filled out for you. Same thing if you need a link included in your legal footer, you can add the words you need it to say, the title, and then the URL here. And then you have links for your social media. This is more relevant for your website, but since we're here, this is the full URL for the profile you want displayed. So not just your handle or username, but the full URL link. So Facebook would be, facebook.com/ and then whatever the ending is to that link for you. All right, once that's updated, we're then going to go to campaigns. If you're not familiar yet with the icons on the left-hand side, you can click on the KW in the upper corner, and that pops open the menu names. So you don't have to hover over each. All right, so once you select that, it's going to take you to your main campaigns dashboard. Today we're sticking to direct mail. We do have other classes that go over these other sections. So if you're wanting more information on those, feel free again to check out our YouTube channel with our previous class recordings, or you can reach out to our support team. All right, so under direct mail, you're going to have your specific dashboard for mailers that you send. If you haven't done any yet, yours will look like mine. If you've already started working on campaigns for direct mail, you'll have different options down here. And once we make one, you'll see what that looks like. But you have your stats up here, so you can look at your time frame on how many you've sent, how many people within that time frame have received a mailer from you, how many leads have come from it, and how much money you've spent towards it. And this is encompassing all of the mailers. You'll also have each of these stats for each specific campaign that you send out. All right, we're going to walk through creating one now. So if you are following along, you'll want to create campaign in the upper right-hand corner. And again, today we're sticking to direct mail. And now we're going to name it. So if this is going to be a property specific campaign, I always recommend, titling it something to do with the property so that you can easily identify the marketing for this home. And because we picked a goal that is specific to an address, now we have our property search automatically open for us. It defaults to active status and only my listings. So if you're advertising a listing and you're the primary listing agent and it's active, you should see that here. I'm going to switch this to all statuses and all listings. But then I'm going to switch to MLS number. When you're searching this way and you search property address, the system will look for every variation of the property address. So you're going to get a lot of overlap in different locations. So MLS number is just a little more specific. You have less crossover between MLS numbers. So once we find our property, we're going to select it. And now you're going to see our preview as we create things or finalize the details on the right-hand side. And it's already pulling in a bunch of information from the property. So now under content, because we don't have our check mark here, we're going to drop that down. And now we're going to select the template that we want. We're going to stick to the default templates in the system. You can upload a custom template, so either download these templates here so that you can create a custom piece and then upload it back in here. If you create a postcard in Designs, that is a separate platform than the direct mailer system that's integrated to campaigns. So it does classify as a custom template. So you will need to make sure that depending on the size of the postcard you create, these have to match exactly all of the details. Otherwise, the system will give you an error. If you need help with doing that, you can always reach out again to our support team, and we can help either send you a video on how you can fit the photo properly. You can resize it based on what you're needing, or we can always help with that as well. But for the sake of class, we're going to stick to the default templates because that can be, it can depend on what you're using and what systems you have and all of that. So here under templates, if you drop down this first menu, you'll see you have different sizes. You have 4x6, 6x9, or two different 6x11s. And as you click through, that changes what it looks like. And once we add a photo, we'll flip through these again so you can see the different variations. But it just changes the layout and what it looks like. Now for the listing details, a lot of this is pulling from the MLS because we selected our listing already. But you'll just want to make sure that it's accurate. We have our listing price. And then under listing status, it actually gives us 3 different options. And then notice that updated our template or our preview on the right-hand side. Now this is one that from the MLS, you have bathrooms. You typically, from what we've seen, will have full bathrooms or total bathrooms, excuse me, and then full and half bath as an option pulling from the MLS. So you'll just want to make sure for advertising purposes that this is accurate based on your listing, depending on which one it's pulling. And then description, it's pulling in the remarks. But notice we have exceeded the character limit. So if we flip to the back, we are cut off here. It doesn't have a full remark, so we will want to edit it just so that it makes sense. We're just going to leave that. I don't remember what I deleted. Okay. So we made sure that that's not, cut off funny. We've made sure that everything lines up there with our description. And now we select our listing photo. So if this is your listing and you have the original listing photos, we recommend uploading that directly here from, the photo file saved on your computer or wherever. If we go to listing images, pulling from the MLS, notice how there's a warning on every single photo for low resolution. From what we've seen, because it's pulling from MLS to KWLS and into the command, each one could potentially lose, quality of the image. So this is just warning you that it could come out a little blurry. Switch back to the front. And now you can see just exactly what that looks like. So you can pick whichever one you like. And if we flip back through the templates now, you can see the contrast as to what they look like. And then down below that, we have the agent section. So this is pulling your headshot from the marketing profile that we updated at the beginning of class. We have first and last name, email, and then for the phone number, the way the system pulls campaigns doesn't like this format for the phone number. So I always recommend just clicking into it and either deleting and retyping in the last digit, or honestly just putting a space, and it fixes the format of the phone number. So now when you save it, we have the warning here for low resolution because of the photo we selected. So this is just letting you know, like, we recognize that this photo may turn out lower quality. You can either select to use it or cancel and go change it. And now we have our check mark there. So all of the required information is fixed. And then we have brokerage information. So again, this is pulling from your marketing profile. You have your office specific logo. And all of this should pull based on what is in your profile. However, city, state, and zip are one line in your marketing profile. So it only recognizes the city. So every time you do this, you'll have to come in here and retype in the state and zip code for your, that's not accurate. For your office, and then verify. It's going to confirm your office address. And now we have a check mark there. So targeting, this is where you can select either local targeting based on an address or target my database. And for this one, we're going to advertise around our listing. So we're going to stick to local targeting, but we should have time to quickly go over a different template for targeting my database, just so I can show you guys the difference. And then for your budget here, depending on the template that you chose or the size that you chose, you can have different postage class that you can select from. And then you can also select how many you want to send out. You can type in here. You can use the arrows if you want to stick below a certain number. All right. So now, looking at our template here, just making sure everything is filled out. You can also add a QR code. If you toggle on tracking, and now you'll be able to select any landing page. Depending on which version of the KW website you have, this may look different for you. There was a recent update where if you updated to the new template, you can no longer see your landing pages or edit them. If you have questions on that, again, email our support team. They can go over kind of the changes and what to expect if you haven't done the update yet. But the landing pages should still work. So if you have a generic one, like sending to your main homepage or directly to a contact page, rather than, you know, a listing specific one, obviously that's going to be a different listing. Then you can always select that because they should still function. And then once you select a page, now we have a QR code here. So if you send this mailer out and any of the recipients scan that code to go to the website page that you selected, they'll be asked to input their information and be tracked as a lead. So on that main dashboard, that's what the leads section was if you do this and using that, someone gives you their information. Once this is ready, we're going to go to configure targeting. So someone just put in the chat, can we use the address listing for the QR code? So the QR code has to be like a full website URL. So if you have a landing page created already for that address, like with more information, like a listing landing page, then yes, you can absolutely select that from the drop down. But for this, it doesn't look like a custom like website URL can be added for the QR code tracking. If you wanted to, you could create a custom mailer design rather than one of the templates that we just built out, and include a different QR code on that, depending on how custom you want to get with it. So if you have questions on that, you can, again, email our support team. Can we navigate to the listing and use that URL? So in the drop-down menu, it doesn't give you the option to edit like to a specific page. This is just your website pages. So if you don't already have like a landing page specific for this property, then you're not going to be able to use the QR code in this, again, template builder. But if you create a custom template, like let's say you're creating a postcard design in the designs platform and you want to include a QR code, you can custom make a QR code on a different site, add that to the image on the custom template, and then upload it here. So there are options. One of them is just more involved. So yeah, I'm gonna go back. Make sure we get our check marks here. Okay, go back into configure targeting. All right, so we've already selected the number of homes that we want to target, but if you are seeing that you want to change that, you can still change that here. And now we have property type. So what this is doing is filtering down the types of properties that these mailers are going to go to so that you can target people that are more likely to need your services. And there are, because each market is different, there's no like wrong answer. Like I can't give you examples of how you should do this because each market is different. So depending on your market, you can change whether you want, or your specific property even, what types of people you're targeting. Can you target an entire community? So yes, but not specifically like based on neighborhood or anything like that. Like you can just not filter anything and it's going to find the closest properties. So my property is more spread out, so that's why. And there's some industrial type buildings rather than residential. So that's why mine looks more spread out. But you can target whoever's available in the community. So we often get asked like why some of these, oh, geez. Can you target apartment buildings? Yes. So if you leave property type as all, that should include apartments. Can we upload our own mailing list? So not for direct mailers here where you configure targeting on an area, but if you have contacts in your database with addresses, you'll be able to select them on targeting your database. But so let's say all of these that you can, it might be actually really hard to see the outlines. Let's say all of these were residential properties and some of them aren't showing up, even though we haven't filtered anything. People can be on a no spam mailing list with the post office, just like they can be on a do not call registry. And if they're registered on that list, then the system will recognize that and not show them as an option for you to mail them something. So we get that question often. I just wanted to touch on that. Also, there is no way to export this list when you mail it out. So let's say you know someone at this property and you don't want them to get a mailer for a different home you're marketing, you can always remove them manually. Again, it might be hard to see. The dot itself is grayed out, but it's still there. So that tells me that I manually removed them from the list, but they still fit the qualifications over here. If it was an accident, you can always restore it. And again, based on your type of property, you can always filter these out based on your market so that you can hopefully get a better return on your investment for sending these out for any potential leads that come through. And then we always recommend sending a copy to yourself at the office address so that you can see what exactly was sent out. And then we have our preview here. You can always view the larger PDF. If you want to download a digital copy, maybe for a file about how you marketed this property, you can always download it here. And then you have your order summary. I'm also going to read to you the processing times. We get this question often. So same day processing, once you submit it, if you submit your order before 3 p.m. on a business day, your mailers will go to production the same day. Post office distribution, your cards will be inserted into the mail stream within 2 business days. And then your estimated delivery, they're estimated in the mailboxes of the targeted recipients in 4 to 6 business days. So that's the time frame. So don't create a flyer on a Thursday expecting it to be delivered by Friday or Saturday. It's got to have time to process and be mailed out. So just keep that in mind when you're creating these. And then you also have your payment section. And once you have that done, you can make your payment and send that to processing. Or you have the option here to schedule a launch date. So you can schedule this out. So maybe you're creating it today, but you want it to be processed Monday so that it can go out by next weekend. And then once you process it, now you'll have your overview here. So you'll have the name that you gave the campaign. I have a small preview here. The status. So this will say processing. If it's still processing, after a few days, it should go to mailed. And then the date you created it, date you sent it. As leads come in, if you use that QR code option, the one that's in the campaign builder, then leads will track there. And then recipients, you'll be able to see how many people sent or how many you sent out and they were received for this specific campaign. All right, I'm going to walk through another one really quick. A lot of it's going to be the exact same thing, but we're going to go through targeting an audience or targeting your database rather than local targeting. So we're going to create campaign, again, direct mail. And picking a goal, create the campaign. And now we're going to walk through and just whatever you want it to say. And again, we have our preview over here. So as you go, you can see what that looks like. Whoa. Right, and then again, fixing our agent information, fixing that phone number. Save, and now we have our check mark. We're just going to pretend like I have all of this information and filled out the way we want. Fixing our market center again. Now targeting, if you do local targeting, this would be like, for example, if you did a trunk or treat type of event at the office for Halloween this last couple days, or maybe last week, and you wanted to invite the neighbors surrounding your office, you could totally do that. But for a client specific target, you're going to want to do target my database. And now you can manually pick the contacts you want this to go to. My contact list is very boring. So depending on how many contacts you have, you're going to want to filter by a tag. Maybe as you work with people, you give them a past client tag or buyer or seller. So you can just go through and select whichever tag for people you want. Now notice I have fake contact here as a person, but their box is grayed out with a little warning here. There's no address on file for this contact. So even though they're here as someone in my database, I'm not able to select them to receive a mailer because it's not going to go anywhere. So the system doesn't let you select them in order to pay for a mailer that doesn't have somewhere to go. And once you have whatever filtering you need, if you still have a long list of clients or whoever you're sending this to, you're going to want to scroll to the bottom and make sure that if it says load more, you're going to want to do that. Scroll to the bottom, load more as many times as need be, so that you can then select all. Or you can manually go through, again, depending on the size of your list, and select each person that you want to send it to. And then add to campaign. So now we have our contacts here that we selected. For mine, that was very boring. But if you are following along, then you will likely have more people. And then for budget, because we're selecting exactly who we want this to send to, you don't really want to mess with the quantity. Depending on the template, you can choose postage class again. And then there is no configure targeting because we selected the people and the addresses that these are going to go to. So it just goes to the preview and payment page. There's a question in the chat. Is there a limit on how many we can send out per month? There is not a limit. You are paying for each one that you're sending. So it's entirely up to you and your budget as to how many you're sending and all of that. All right. And then for this one, another question we get often in the preview here, it's selecting the office address and name. But on the previous example, it was the one that said current resident, and then, you know, the brackets for filling in that person's address when it gets mailed. This one, because you're selecting names and specific addresses, they will be addressed to the people in your database. So even though the example here is the office information, this will say the client's name that you have programmed, as well as the address and where it's going, rather than current resident. And then again, order summary and your payment information. All right, guys, I know I went through that last example pretty quickly, but a lot of it is just the same. So I didn't want to spend too much time on the template since we already went through that. But I want to thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with me going through this. I'm going to give you guys back about 10 minutes of your day. So again, I'm going to put our support email in the chat for you. So if you have questions, you can always reach out and we'll be happy to take a look at your system if something is specifically going on in yours, or if you're trying to accomplish something, we might need to take a look, or we can send you any helpful videos on a specific topic. I hope you guys have a good rest of your Thursday, and see you next time.